Hey everybody, this is the M.I.Diverse podcast, and today we do not have Drew today, so it's just me and Jenna. It's just Jenna and I, and we are basically going to have this really fun, creative interview for each other and how we talk about our creative process. So, thank you, Jenna, for being here today. I appreciate
Yep.
that. So, the first question I'm sure a lot of people would like to ask is when did you know that writing and drawing was like your thing? And how did you know it was your thing at the time?
Uh, well, for me, how I figured out that drawing and writing was my thing was I think I think it actually probably most likely started when I first got my Nintendo DSi. When that
Hmm.
came out, I got it for Christmas one point. And it had this app called Flipnote Studio.
Ooh,
And there was
okay.
a there was a there's an online there's a and they have an online network space where people could submit their their Flipnote animations to the wider community and stuff. It's called Flipnote Hatena. And I just remember, I think I spent more time on there than actually playing games, than actually like playing the DSi games, because it was just the animations were so fascinating and the potential for I didn't even know what the frick was happening for the most part. All I just saw was look at all these cool characters and animations and like there's hints of storytelling in there. You don't know what it is, but you're fascinated by it. And that made me go, huh, I want to do that. And that I want to do that. And I think I think I really started to dedicate myself to drawing when I was like 10
Mm.
or so. So that passion started at a very young, well, it started with Nintendo DSi, Flipnote Studio slash Flipnote Antenna. And then when I was 10, I really started, that's something, being a creator, being like, creating stories, creating animated stories. That's what I wanted to do with my life.
That's really cool. I mean, and as well, same here. Was really, I really liked drawing when I was younger. I really liked the idea of like comics because I felt like I was kind of like a person who wanted to merge things together. Like I loved writing and drawing. I thought and so I thought, okay, comics. Okay, writing and drawing, comics. Okay, that's cool. And then I really liked Lego and filmmaking. So, stop motion animation. That was also a really cool thing that I liked when I was younger. And also just doing, my regular artworks and everything. And yeah, that really spiraled into something really like I think it was like middle school slash high school was when I was really looking into doing all that stuff when I was younger. And it's kind of like I'm still trying to find my niche for something. So yeah. So
But I will mention one thing that I think all writers and creators can relate to.
mhm.
I started off like instead of starting off writing like original stories, most of the time we start off writing fan fiction because
Exactly.
it's like where do we start? We don't know.
Exactly.
So we just kind of go off of what we like and just create random crap with it or whatever. And that in a way forms as a stepping stone, hopefully as a stepping stone, because I know there are some creators that have not left their fan fiction phase, unfortunately, sometimes. But besides the point. The it fan fiction starts off as a stepping stone, a
Mm.
starting point to creating like actual original works. And that was the same for me. I'm sure it's the same for a lot of creators.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think when, I view fan fiction, whether you're doing fan art or writing fan fiction, I definitely view it as a practicing method to writing and
Yeah.
drawing than
Yeah.
an actual like creating method. Because, and I mean, it is still creating, but it's still like, it's not like, it's a practice, as I'd
Yeah.
say. It's really a practice.
And
So,
I'm just at a point in my life where actually I think I started thinking this way maybe 2, 3 years ago.
mhm,
Well, actually, no, I think it may have been 2 years ago where I decided that I didn't want to over rely on like other people's work essentially to make my own. I want to separate myself from that stuff because, sometimes the companies that make your favorite franchises or the people that make your favorite franchises, they're not always perfect sometimes. And that, you know,
yeah,
nobody's perfect and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying like just staying in one spot is not always beneficial. You gotta,
yeah,
as I sometimes say, you have to leave the nest one way or another.
exactly. Which been wondering for you, what is your approach to like any sort of original projects of your own? Like, how do you approach your projects? And I'm just curious of how you do that.
I think that, and it's not to say that I like don't actively take inspiration from other places. I do. I do take inspiration from other places. It's just I I use them more so as a stepping stone to actually create something different, create something only I would make,
Hmm.
essentially. Um, I had a thought, and now it's
Yeah.
leaving. Oh
Oh
no.
no. Okay,
No,
well
it's
then
leaving.
let me mention my thought. Um, when it comes to approaching a project on my end, I usually try to figure out how does the story come to me? So the question of it all is, does it come to me as a comic? Does it come to me as a play script? Does it come to me as a screenplay? So I kind of don't want to force I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to force a story if it doesn't work in that medium. Because if it
Yeah,
doesn't come to me in that medium, it's not going to work any other way. And
yeah.
that's,
Although I was just thinking that whenever I view my story ideas, I always view them like in the format of animation. Because
mm, yeah.
that's how it just makes sense to me. You can do a lot more with animation. You could express more. You could make scenes more impactful and all that stuff. It heightens like tension, emotions, and what's happening in the story and all. It just works. Something just feels right viewing it in animation.
Mm,
And yeah, s- for me, when it comes to where do all my ideas come from? They literally show up all over the place. Literally,
yeah.
whatever I like feel like it sometimes. And my problem is, as a result, since they come from many things like watching movies and shows, or even reading certain books, or just like
Mhm.
watching videos or whatever. And it's like, as a result, I kind of created too many.
I kind of suffer with that too a little bit. I kind of have so many ideas. I just write them down and then I'm like, this is too much for me sometimes because it's like, can I even finish as many projects as I have ideas? Um,
Well, one thing that I do whenever I
mhm,
have something like that is I actually look at the story ideas that I have is which ones can work when they're combined together.
mm,
And like which ones can work when they're combined into one story
mhm,
or and I'm sure that or if something's not working, if something is just
mhm,
straight up not working for any other thing, it's sometimes you just gotta scrap it all
Yeah,
together. I know
yeah.
that's tough. That's tough for a lot of people that you work. I've had to scrap a lot of ideas for B scores, for my story B scores, for instance. I had to scrap a lot of things.
FYI,
Yes,
everyone, this is Jenna's book. I was
yes,
fortunate enough to get a copy a long time ago. So,
yes. The first draft from 5 years ago. Oh my word.
oh my goodness, I can
Let me
only
tell you.
imagine.
Yeah, let me tell you. The book, like the stuff that you see in the book is not going to be in the final thing. For the most part, is not going to be in the final thing because I've been working on that story for like I think like 6, 7 years.
Oh
I've been
wow,
Yeah, I've been working on it since like junior, senior year of high school.
wow.
And I've been I've been on and off with it, working on it, working on different story ideas, completely different stories
Yeah,
from Beast Course, and
mhm,
then having to deal with life and all
yeah,
that.
yep,
Um, and and through that process, so many
mhm,
ideas are reworked, changed, or even just scrapped altogether. Which like I said, it's not fun when you've created these fun ideas, these fun characters. But if it's not working, it's just not. If you feel inside that it's not working, it's not working. Just get rid of it.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the things for me, like, in the way of inspiration, like sometimes characters will come to you in dreams. I know that happened for
Same.
the author of Twilight. That's what happened to her. She had a dream about her two characters, and I don't even know how old I was. I think I was like 7, 8 years, maybe even 9 years old. I don't know. But I had a dream about I was listening to some sort of music, and I just dozed into a nap. I was traveling at the time with family at the time, so I just dozed into a nap, and I had a dream about this green wizard, and it was really interesting of how, like, I kept seeing this green wizard. Luckily, thank heaven, I had paper with me. Thank God, I had paper with me, because if I didn't
Nice.
have paper with me, none of that would have happened. So that's how one of my story ideas came, and then another story that came to me, which is probably one of my most favorite things I've ever written, which is my play, The Fairest of Them All, which is a retelling of Snow White. That play idea came to me after seeing one of my friend's plays that my sister was in high school at the time. And I just had this dream about this girl riding on a horse through a snowstorm. And I literally drew that, and like that's really where that idea came from, was I had to do something with that. And obviously, I did I wrote the Tales of a Thurn mini series because I really like high fantasy, and I really wanted to explore something in high fantasy. So and then also my comic idea for my for my comics that I've been doing, called Sea Mr. Merman's Tale. You have one.
But yeah, I've been meaning
Um,
to.
so this
Uh,
is
is it available
issue.
anywhere right now?
Right now I have copies, and I was trying to do shows, and I'm trying to figure out a way of selling them either online or something. I'm trying to still figure that out. Um,
Wait, is it online somewhere? Like,
no, it's not online. I have copies, but I'm trying to figure out how to get them out.
okay.
So yeah, I've been trying to do that, and yes, so that comic idea came to me as an idea of just coming up with like a elevator pitch. So basically, it's a really cute story about a young merman with a rainbow tail who comes up to the circus during Pride Month, and So, which then leads me into my next question to you is, do you have a favorite character you have ever written in your own original works?
Uh, I I don't necessarily have a favorite.
Okay.
I just kind of make characters that feel right within the world that they're in right now and the circumstances that they're in.
Okay.
Uh, I'm just not sure how else. I just make characters that fit within their environments and their worlds. And if it feels right, it feels right.
Yeah. Um, I would say my favorite character that I've ever written out of all of my projects is probably Prince Ravenard from the Fairest of Them All. Because the reason I loved writing that character is he goes through a whole 360 within the two acts of the show. Because he starts as this very shy character, falls in love, gets his heart broken, turns into a villain, and comes back to being a good character. So doing all of that within, well, without putting too much information of what happens in the story, but
Yeah.
just doing that is probably my favorite, most favorite character I've ever written, honestly. Like anyone
Yeah,
who's ever wrote.
I also say that I don't really have a favorite because admittedly all of my stories are they're still a work in progress
Mm,
because one of the things that I have been thinking about a lot
mhm.
is like just making sure the world, the plot, the characters are as airtight as possible.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
want, if I'm gonna write a certain thing or a certain subject matter or a certain thing that happens, it's like I want to give it the respect and realism that it deserves.
Mhm.
The and also just implementing different uh I want it because another thing that I drive to do with my stories is to look at different perspectives on
Mhm.
things based off of what I'm writing.
Mhm.
Because again, I want to enrich the world and the characters and just actually show that I put a lot of effort and attention to detail in it. But as my parents would say, you really like don't make perfection the and like don't make perfection the thing that stops you from publishing because
Exactly.
it's like sometimes sometimes doing your best, doing your very best is the best you can do.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I've realized, as well as, obviously, you know, don't strive for too much of perfection because you're never going to get it done. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's definitely good advice right there, definitely. So, in the way of other creative people, which creatives inspire your own work? Like, do you have a favorite artist, favorite filmmaker, a favorite animator? Just
I don't really
curious.
have like it's so weird. I don't have a favorite anything. That
Oh,
I don't know
really?
I don't know if that makes me feel weird or anything, but I think I find I look at something, whatever that may
Hmm.
be, and I go, oh, that's interesting. I could use that in here. And that's just what I
Yeah,
do. It's like
yeah.
no difference, no favoritism or anything. It's just kind of like well, okay. I guess what I could say,
Hmm.
how I could rephrase that answer or like
Hmm.
look at that question differently is
Hmm.
what things in my childhood has inspired me.
Hmm.
Um, I think I grew up with Pokemon,
Hmm.
mostly Pokemon. So that has that has definitely inspired some, or at least, well, I should say writing fan fiction about Pokemon is what inspired me to make make my own like actually branch off into my own original
Mhm.
stories,
Yeah.
and also like and also just finding weird fascination with almost any like monster catching uh franchise ever
Mm.
in the world for some reason.
Yeah.
Mostly Pokemon, Digimon, and Yokai Watch, those ones. I also liked giant monsters.
Mhm.
I'm the kind of person that is like, I have a story idea, and I'm like, could I insert a giant monster in there just for shits and giggles? Because
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just I find monsters fascinating. I don't know why. I think that's
yeah.
the crux. I think that's the crux of my inspiration. I just like monsters for some reason.
Sometimes I'm kind of the same way too. Sometimes I'll come up with an idea and like come up with something and be like, I wonder if I can put a gay couple in this. And it's like,
Well,
well, maybe I
actually,
could.
actually, I find that interesting that you mentioned that because the question of do I want to put like diversity and inclusivity in
Mhm.
my stories, I'm like, it's a no-brainer question. I put that in there because it's like, come on. Like
Yeah,
I don't want people to like bend over backwards to relate to like a character or something. Well, I
exactly.
mean, yeah.
Exactly. And I will say the characters in the Tales of a Thurn is probably the most diverse cast I have ever written and drawn in the way of like that cast of characters. So it's pretty freaking fantastic. Like I will say like that was definitely like a really big project that I really liked
Yeah.
and all of that. Um so yeah, that is interesting to kind of like in the way of my inspirations, I definitely would say like, Mark Davis from who did the character drawings for Disney for so many years, like Mark Davis. And I also like looking at concept art from other movies like The Lord of the Rings, The Chronicles of Narnia, the um, many other high fantasy franchises of just looking at it and just trying to figure out like what do I like here in the way of like that inspiration, but also trying to kind of put my own flavor and spin on certain stuff too. So,
Yeah.
so
And
yeah.
and also just going back a bit to what we
Yep.
were talking about with like representation and all that, and
Yep.
it's also just important like what also is important to me is actually like just writing them as regular characters, like
Exactly.
no matter what they look like. It's
Mhm.
like it's not that hard, guys. Just write them as people, please. Just write them as people. It's not that hard.
Exactly. Exactly. Like if the character sounds to be like if they have a certain sounding name that would indicate their nationality or or in their diverse culture or something like that, just write it as you would write another human being. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of important, guys.
It's like, I
um
mean, it's like, sure, you can have like, I'm sorry if I'm still staying on the, I just need to clarify
yep.
here
Yep.
that, and sometimes uh experiences of similar circumstances are like vary between individuals. So that's something to consider. It's something to consider when you
Mhm.
are creating these kinds of characters.
Exactly.
Because sometimes two or more aspects of a person tend to overlap a lot. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
just again, just write them as people and be fine.
Yeah. Which then leads me to my next question. So when you feel like you're going kind of like through kind of like personal hardships, or you find it complicated to go back to a project, what would you advise to anybody who is kind of like going through a hard time or kind of like wanting to basically get out of the funk and then start getting back into the creative space again, kind of like.
I would recommend, and this is coming from a person
Mhm,
who knows and understands this, but is also struggling through this, so I get it,
mhm.
is to schedule out your day. Like schedule
Exactly.
out, okay, like schedule out if you want to do this a certain time, a certain day, or if you want to do this other thing a certain time or day, or sometimes dedicating an entire day to one thing and then dedicating an entire day to another thing. Like
Hmm.
spacing it out, learning to space out your day depending on your comfort level.
Yeah, exactly. When I was trying to create my comic, I found someone on YouTube. I forgot her name, but she does these beautiful watercolor comics. They're really pretty. And she had a video on her comic creating process. So she actually showed like, okay, in her planner, it was like one day I'm gonna plan out the do the thumbnails. Then I'm gonna do the panels. Then I'm gonna do the penciling. Then I'm gonna do the inking. Then I'm gonna do the coloring. And she would have like a whole week, like all her steps were like for throughout the week, which was really good. And I really liked that. And I definitely look into that for my process when creating my comics. And obviously also it's a good idea to schedule so that way you're not just like, you know, surprised about things happening or something like that, or when you're going to
Yeah.
do the next step. So,
And
yeah,
also just learning when to find free time for yourself. Just
exactly.
to relax, just to do whatever. Like
Hmm.
just knowing when to have a break, but not like, but also knowing when to not break for too long. Like
Exactly.
what's the right amount of time for a break for you is something to
Probably,
consider.
probably, yeah, that would be a good question to consider because probably I would probably say probably like a 45-minute break, close to 45 to an hour break, maybe like once or twice per day. Because obviously you don't want to be looking like at a computer screen or something all day, and you don't want to be looking. Well, it also depends on the project too, you know. If you're writing all day, you're gonna want to, you know, probably step away from the computer for a bit. Or if you're doing digital art, you want to step away from the computer for a little bit. But but if you're doing like by hand, whether you're doing it by hand, whether you're writing, whether you're drawing, um, by hand, you can do without, like, if you do it without the computer, you could probably do it all day, but still take a break, obviously.
Yeah. And also, I understand life happens. You know,
Exactly.
sometimes scheduling weirdness happens and somebody calls or texts you saying, "Hey, can you do this or can you come into work now or
Hmm.
um hey, we got to go to this place or whatever." And that just that happens a lot. So,
Exactly. And also when you come down with a cold or something, or you know, maybe when people certain people come down with any colds or anything, maybe that would be a probably a good idea of saying like, you know, maybe the reason I came down with that thing was because I needed a break. So
yeah, maybe. It was the universe saying, okay, you need to stop now. You have overworked. I don't want you to overwork.
yeah, yeah, I've had that happen to me quite a few times. So, yeah, it's really great. It's really great.
And also, going back to what I was trying to like finish there was
Hmm.
just learning to adjust. Also learning to adjust. Like
Hmm.
it's a balance of scheduling things out, but also learning to know when to be flexible.
Exactly.
Even
Exactly.
if you're just like if you're an artist or something,
Hmm.
even if it's just drawing random sketches, at
Hmm.
least you are doing something. Like
Yeah,
just do like no matter how small it is, just do something.
exactly. Exactly.
And
And I
also,
think, no, go ahead.
oh, we're
No, go
gonna
ahead. No, go ahead.
okay. I was just gonna mention about actually when I was going back to my Beast Course thing, I'm actually working on my trailer. Well, actually, I'm finishing up that trailer right now. And
Oh, very nice.
one of the things that I did for that project was figuring out which scenes are going to be the most difficult first, like working on the difficult scenes to animate first, and then doing the easier ones last.
Yeah,
Ones that aren't that painful to do anyway.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely, I'm sure everyone else will definitely be looking forward to seeing your trailer for that because I really like the story that you wrote.
Yeah, I let me
And
again,
yeah,
a first draft is it's I don't even know if I want to look at it. It's like, no, this is not my character. This is not who they are now.
that is, as I usually say, it is what it is. But it's as you've and as you and as you've said, when it comes to like just getting it out there, doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, just get it out there. Um, I've been trying to figure out how do I want my like if I want to publish my script or my screenplays as books or Amazon or something. I don't know if I even want to do that. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know.
I actually uh I actually know of film festivals that actually
Hmm.
do screenplays that you can
Hmm,
submit your screenplay to.
interesting.
So that may be something to consider or something.
Yeah, definitely send me the information for that because I would definitely be interested in seeing where my screenplay could go. I don't know if there'd be a limit on how long the screenplay has to be.
It depends. It depends on the film festival, and it's you can look. Most film festivals use Film Freeway to
Hmm.
submit stuff, so that's just something else. You could just search up
Yeah.
their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate that info, by the way. So, is there any advice you would give to someone who is in the kind of like the same area or starting out in the area that you're in your creative space?
Uh, this is uh, this is something that I've been thinking about. Actually, this just came to my mind, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot of times. Is
Yeah.
just understand that when you start off, you you don't know a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Just be willing to learn. Be willing to learn because you don't know everything. You don't know everything right off the bat. And sometimes the only way to learn is to learn through experience. Because it's one thing to read someone's blog or post or whatever about their experience. But it and I but it's another okay. Because I understand that there are some cases where you do need to listen to other people so that you can avoid not doing some things, like, making sure you don't do like certain mistakes or whatever. At the same time, when it comes to the actual creation process,
Yes.
sometimes you don't know unless you try. You don't know unless you actually like try something out.
Yeah. I definitely agree because I think there's a lot of people who they're either too scared to do it or they don't really have faith in themselves to do it. But also, not only of what you've mentioned, learn and not just learn from other people, but learn to be surrounded by people who love your creativity.
Yeah.
Because those people who have been with you for so long, those people are the ones who truly care about your creativity and your life's endeavors.
Yeah. And also another
And
thing as well. And also another thing as well. Unfortunately, you're not going to please everybody. Like
ex
no matter how well written your story is, no matter how much you give respect to people, and no matter how airtight your story and characters are, there's just gonna be some people, and no matter how much like unique flair you put into it that makes it stand out, some people are just not gonna like it just to not like it, and sometimes you can't
Mhm.
help it. That can't be helped. And that's
Yeah,
something just gotta uh realize. And also another thing as well about why it sometimes feels like creators are too scared to post
mhm.
anything is because especially with the internet, there's just so much pressure on creators to do better because, Hollywood is not certainly not getting any better, certainly not getting any better. So I think that
Yeah,
puts more pressure on us indie creators to do better.
hmm,
And it's like it's sometimes it is like and that's where it gets into the unrealistic expectations of perfection. You have to
exactly.
like
Yeah,
it's like guys, we're not going to get anything done if you constantly demand perfection out of them. It's like all we can do is our best and making sure that our projects are airtight as possible.
exactly. Exactly. And I think that it's the pressure of the comparison game. And I really think that that is one of the biggest issues that we see in the problem of the world today is the comparison issues. Because so many people compare themselves to a point where they just can't get anything done. And it's kind
Yeah.
of like, it's unfortunate that people always have to play this comparison game because how in the world are you going to get that project done? You know, talk to the people who can help you with those projects too, network with people, talk to other people who have been in your situation and say and ask them, hey, I'm kind of in this situation and you were in the situation a few years ago. What did you do about this per se? So
Yeah. And also uh frick, I had this thought again. I when I'm so hyper fixated on something, I just yeah, I can I'm the thought is slipping from me. I don't know why.
it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. I think that
Oh, I
like
I remembered.
no,
Oh, I
yeah, go
remember
ahead.
now. Like
Go ahead.
sometimes comparison can be a form of flattery sometimes. It
You
can
know,
absolutely it can be a form of flattery sometimes. But at
true.
the same time, like for example, I think in like publishing a book, sometimes uh how they pitch their ideas essentially is like my story is a combination of this and this, or my story is like this but with this.
Hmm.
Like stuff like, sometimes that is inevitable. At the
Hmm.
same time, it's like you really don't want to make it all consuming for
Exactly.
you.
I was literally thinking about an idea for a story the other day of like, what if I created a story that kind of mixed. This is probably the craziest mix I'd ever thought of, but like it would be like a mixed story of like the movie Call Me by Your Name
Oh gosh,
and The Hunger Games, like
yeah.
particularly Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I've got to do something with this because there's no way that this is going to end well. So I don't know. Maybe it will become a thing. Maybe it won't. It's fine. If it comes to me again down the road, maybe it will. I don't know. I know. But the thing is that, I'm just not a novelist. I'm just gonna say that right now. It's for everybody to know, I'm not a novelist. I I work, but you know what? I work so comfortably with a script, like with script writing and or screenplay. I work so comfortably with that. I don't know why, but I just tend to work in a screenplay slash script format so comfortably that it's kind of like for example, I could not write a set of dialogue the way a novel would be written. But if I do it like a script, like character, dialogue, I can do it flawlessly. Flawless.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that as well. If I am going to be making, I am also more of a screenplay sort of person, but my idea of writing ideas down is to just blurt them all out and then just be done with it. That's mostly what I do.
Yeah, that's a good idea though. That is good to know too, because it's like sometimes there are some people like us who are definitely novelists. And so people, just to be clear, we're not making fun of the novelist people. We love you all. We love you all.
Yeah, you're fine.
You're fine. You're fine. Um, and but I think it's interesting just to kind of like that approach of like, as we were talking about earlier, that approach to how do we approach our stories? Because usually it's like, for me, it's like story concept, then kind of like writing bullet points of what's going on in the story, and then writing the script. Because if I try to
Yeah,
write a script without not knowing what's going on, the whole script falls apart. So,
yeah. It's yeah, I try to just make some kind of like world and characters and such, and then maybe a few interesting plot points or something, and then see what I make of it. I don't,
yeah.
sometimes the setting comes
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
for me, depending on what it is, and
And sometimes,
then like how do like the care, especially if the world is different from our own. Like for example,
mhm.
I have a gaslight fantasy sort of story. In case you don't
Mm.
know, it's like steampunk with fantasy elements.
Oh, okay.
So things like that, the world comes first and then everything else.
This falls into play,
Yeah,
basically.
but I'm still working on that, like with everything else, and also another thing as well about just going back in time a bit is sometimes there is this need of people. There are some people that are saying like we should avoid tropes and cliches. Well, the problem is it's happened everywhere. Everybody
Exactly.
is using it. What
Yeah,
matters is how it is used. What matters
mhm.
is the execution of it. Because
Exactly.
what you don't want to do is just play it straight as it is and not do anything unique with it.
Yeah. Or take a different twist on that.
Or
Yeah,
like I said, make a story only you can tell. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
that's another thing to consider as a creator. Just make something only you can do.
Yeah. I've been thinking about like the idea of like the idea of like how would I pitch. Now, I wouldn't particularly say like, oh, I would ever pitch this story idea to like Disney or some big animation studio idea. But, I always think about like, what is the concept of a good fairy tale story? And so it's like, okay, obviously, you want to have the magic, you want to have the fairy tale world, you want to have the princess, you want to have the prince slash, I don't know,
You want to
like,
have
yeah,
insert mythical creature or whatever.
exactly. You want to have those characters. You want to have, and it's basically like, how do you approach an idea of like, you know, how do we go back to what people loved about those movies and still do our own thing is
Yeah,
basically it. And it's
you
really
know,
interesting. So,
it's like a good it's like an it's like a good actual tribute to these things.
yeah.
It's like they they know what they know what people like about it, but still
Mhm.
have something new to say about it.
I think the new trope, I really think the new trope for these female characters with like within the Disney Princess franchise, I'd like to see a princess character who realizes she doesn't have to be strong alone. And that's the problem we're seeing with these female characters is they're like, oh, they're strong without a man. They don't need a man or whatever. But it's like, what if the girl doesn't want to be strong alone?
What happened to just being with friends? What happened to friendship? What the heck
Exactly.
happened?
Exactly. Where's the friendship too? Where's the friendship stories? Come on, guys.
It's like, actually, you know what? That's a very interesting question. Where the frick did all the friendship? What happened to friendship? Why does every single story need to have romantic stuff in it? It doesn't always need it to be
Yeah.
like, I think, but then again, that
But
whole
that
thing
that's
is that's probably a whole society problem.
yeah,
Deep-rooted society problem.
yeah, probably most likely. But you know, I you know, we all love our own stories. We really have something to tell. And I'm so glad we have the opportunity through the company of TinkTank Animate to not just us, but like a lot of other people have the opportunity to tell their stories within a studio because there's a lot of people who are on the autism spectrum that don't get the opportunity to go to a small film set. They don't get the
Yeah.
opportunity to go to a film set. They don't have the opportunity to see what does a stop motion animation studio look like? What do these things look like? And when you get to have those moments of the behind the scenes, it's so fantastic.
Yeah. And I yeah, I think I really do owe it to my parents who wanted this opportunity for me, who want me to tell my stories. And
Mhm.
mind you, again, I have too many, and that's the problem with me. I have too many, but I do have a few priority stories. And I don't want to spoil them too much
Right,
because again, they're a work in progress. All of them are.
right.
Beast Course, obviously,
Mhm.
which is at the moment right now, it's like two brothers in a fantasy world helping these beast cores
Mhm.
and shenanigans happens.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and there's like this other story about people transforming into warriors that have insect theme armor.
Mm.
And and then the other one, like I said, it's like a gaslit fantasy.
Hmm.
Um, and
That's
then
cool.
there's also a fourth one,
Mm-hmm.
which it's what I've been thinking about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a character that has gone through a lot of crap. A lot of
Yeah.
I'm not gonna detail that, but and it's in that world where there's like where religion plays a huge important role in that
Mm.
story, not only with like the world, but also just the characters' views sometimes on
Yeah.
it. So
A
that's
little
another thing
a
about it.
little bit like his Dark Materials is what it sounds. Like a little bit.
Not
No, maybe not.
really.
Maybe not as inspired.
I haven't even like freaking read that. I don't know.
Mm.
And that's the thing though. Sometimes ideas just come to me without really diving too deep into like certain stories.
Yeah.
It's like some things just kind of show up, man. Some things just feel natural to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Some stories just come up to me from out of nowhere. So I got to do something with it. I know a very gifted artist, and like I do really want to basically, you know, not only is just a shout out to TinkTank Animate for giving us this opportunity of a podcast so we can tell our stories and,
So we can ramble off about random stuff that is on our minds for some while we're trying to ramble our way through topics.
exactly, exactly. So, yeah, so honestly, like this was so cool. It was great that we were able to do this today. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody's help on this one. Thank you, Doug. I think we're good. I think we're ready.
Yeah.